enjoy the ride. Fellow Sierra and Silverado owners, are you ready to correct one of the greatest oversights in automobile history? Are you ready to make right the wrong that GM engineers couldn't figure out how to do on their own? Well, I'm Major Scott of the Major Reviews It, and in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you how to do exactly that. Today, we're going to install a bed light switch in the bed of the truck where it should have been all along. So sit back, enjoy the video, and let's get to it. All right, so maybe I exaggerated just a tad. Maybe this isn't the greatest oversight in automotive history. However, that said, it is one that's had me scratching my head since I bought this truck, and it is definitely a huge inconvenience having to walk to the cab of your truck to turn on your bed lights if you need to get in the bed and see something, especially with the tonneau cover. So what I did, I went online and found a company called Gen5DIY.com. Now, Gen5 DIY, they sell all types of harnesses that plug into your factory harnesses and then allows you to splice off and make certain modifications. One of the other ones I saw that looked interesting, they do have a start-stop engine delete, which will delete your engine start-stop switch, which I think is absolutely an ingenious idea. Not the start-stop, but the start-stop switch delete, I should say. But they have a myriad of different harnesses that plug into the factory harnesses. And this particular switch was about $48, I think it was. So, pretty easy mod. It does require drilling where I installed it. So if the thought of drilling into an $86,000 vehicle doesn't scare you, then I would say proceed accordingly. If you're not an idiot like me and the thought scares you like it should, I'm sure you could take this to one of your local truck accessory install shops and probably get it installed for around $100. If it costs you any more than that, I'd shop around. Now, I will say, the initial mod, I did run into some issues, but I'm going to tell you how to avoid all those issues so you won't blow $10 worth of fuses like I did. Because I'm going to tell you, although the kit is pretty decent in quality, there are no instructions, and I did make a call to Gen5 DIY and got a hold of the individual, and he was very short and less than helpful. So shame on him for that. But the kit is pretty decent. But don't worry about that. I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. All right, this install is really easy. Once you decide which side you're going to mount the switch on, it should take you about 30 to 45 minutes. And that's if you don't run into any problems. But if you follow my instructions and you follow my technique, you shouldn't have any issues. Now, I'm going to be flipping back and forth, showing you footage from the other night. That way you can see the kit and see what I was going to do, and then finally I went back and showed you guys where to plug the harnesses in and where I got my hot wire from on the trailer hitch connector. So let's take a look at some of the footage from the other night. Okay, before we get started with the install, let's go ahead and get an overview of what we're working with. Below you see the actual kit I received from Gen5 DIY. You can go on gen5diy.com. I'll put a link in the description. But the kit was $47.99. Pretty basic. You can see a T-harness right here and a wire with a splice, a blade splice connector, and a switch, and then a inline splice right here. That is it. I think you could probably build this kit for quite a bit cheaper, but hey, I don't mind paying, you know, the money for a pre-assembled kit. The problem I have with this kit is not how it came. It came packaged in a box here, pretty decent, but that's exactly how it came, right there. No instructions, no link to a video. I pretty much had to look at the whole job myself, kind of make it up as I go. That to me is unacceptable. I don't mind paying the $48, but man. So once you figure out which side you're going to mount the switch, your next step is going to be to remove the tail light it's associated with. So for my left side of the truck, I went ahead and took a T15 torque bit and remove this screw and this screw, and then pull on the tail light, and the tail light will come out, and then your harness is going to go in there, and I'll show you that right here. All right, when we're removing the tail light, you want to go ahead and give it a tug on the top and the bottom, and just give it a pull and it will come out. Now the only thing holding the tail light in right now is this plug, and there is a red locking tab that you want to take your thumb and slide that locking tab back, and then press down on the other tab and then pull the plug free, and it takes just a little bit. Now here's your tail light, and on the tail light you'll notice there's two metal studs. Now what these studs do is they actually wedge into two rubber grommets, and that keeps your tail light in place. Now here's what your T-harness looks like when it's installed, and this is the kit. Now up top you'll see your factory light with the blue dot, and then here's your 12-volt ground that's running down to your trailer plug. So I'm going to unplug all this and show you kind of how it all plugs in together. So I'll try to put it back in a stock configuration here. Let me take this apart and pop that little red tab, and I'll go ahead and remove that. Now this is what your stock configuration will look like right here. That is your factory harness, and that plugs into your bed light right like that. Now when you install this kit, you'll take that out, and you see a red tab there, same thing. You want to pull that back and then press down and remove that. This is where you'll splice in your T-harness, and you put that T-harness in there, and that takes the place of your factory harness, and then you'll plug the factory harness into this female end of your T-harness, and you want to make sure it locks in place and it will snap and you'll hear it click. Now everything is set. These two wires and the constant yellow wire will go into the switch, and you'll get a switch. Let me give you some light here. Let me turn on some light so you can see. Plug into the back of the switch. You see it right there. So I did find a hot wire on the trailer towing plug, the 7-pin or the 5-pin flat plug. Right here there is a cannon, and it does have a wire. There's a black wire going into that. If you pull this off, there's 2 pins here that you can pull that off, and it slides out here. Now there are several wires that you can see in the harness, and the black wire right there has 12 volts to it. All right, as I mentioned earlier, the install was really easy. Okay, the hardest part, and the hardest part to get over, was drilling that hole right there. But as you can see, the sheet metal is pretty thin. Just get an idea of where you want to drill it. Now there is nothing back in behind here. That's the only thing you really have to make sure of when you're drilling into any part where you can't see what's behind. You need to know what's behind it. So when you take the tail light off, you can see back here that there is nothing behind there. Now I can tell you and vouch for it, there's nothing from here to here. So anywhere in this general vicinity that you're gonna want to install the switch, you'll be safe. I did buy this switch at AutoZone. Nothing special about it. I think it was like $6. But there is an issue, and there's an issue with the harness itself. I ran into an issue when I was installing it the other night. I kept blowing fuses. I blew two 30-amp fuses, which was a pain and it was aggravating, and it shouldn't have happened. And had there been some instructions, possibly I could have figured out what was going on a little bit quicker. But I'm going to tell you so you don't have to go through the same thing that I did. Now, as any switch, you want to get a 3-blade switch, which means it has 3 connectors. This one is for your 12-volt constant. So you have a ground, and then you have a load switch on the other side. Now, here's where I ended up blowing the fuses. Now, on the switch itself, you're always going to have your yellow or your power wire. It may be a red wire, depending on which wire comes with your kit. The yellow is the one that's going to go tap into the harness underneath the truck. That's going to be on the low or the constant 12 volt. You may be able to see it right there, but it is labeled 12 volts. So that's going to go there. The problem was I was told initially online, the abbreviated instructions that he has for the kit said that the red goes in the center and the black goes on the outside. That was not the case in my situation. And the reason for that, it's because the T-harness that he sent, it was wired incorrectly. And I'm going to tell you, if you look closely, you can see a red and black wire. Now this is going to go up into here. But if you look at the part where your initial factory harness goes in, the black is on the right side. But on the harness up top, the black is not on the right side, it's on the left side. And that's why I kept blowing the fuses. So if your black wires here and here don't line up, you'll want to wire your switch like that. You want the black wire in the middle and the red wire on the outside. Once you do that, you won't have any other issues with blowing fuses. Now, as you can see, the switch is already installed and it's right down there, and it works like that. Okay, let's go through a few final thoughts about this light switch and the install process and the kit itself. First and foremost, the kit I received from Gen 5 DIY, not a bad kit. Everything looked to be in decent condition. It was shipped pretty promptly, and it was fairly reasonable, to be honest with you. You probably could have, to be honest, built this kit for maybe $20, but the $20 in savings, or the $27, $28 that I would have saved by doing this kit myself, to me that was worth the cost. So that was good. The bad part of dealing with this company is their tech support, or lack therefore of. It's inexcusable when you talk to somebody on a phone and the call went pleasant enough, but I called him back about 10 minutes later for one more follow-up question, and all of a sudden I get voicemail. I leave a message, wait 2 hours, no reply, call back again, goes to voicemail. So the first time I called, he answered right away. We talked. He told me some erroneous information, but that was it. He really didn't go into it and almost seemed like I was bothering him. I don't like that. Go ahead and order the kit. Just don't expect anything as far as support goes. That said, the whole kit and the whole install was pretty easy, but I did run into those issues the first night that I installed it, blowing those fuses, which that was aggravating, and it was totally unnecessary. But this video will take all that out of the equation. If you follow what I did, I don't think you should have any issues, and you should be able to install this kit, like I said, about 20 minutes, and that includes the actual drilling. If you don't want to drill, again, you can use that pre-made hole, just pop that rubber piece out, and that'll give you a spot for the switch without drilling. So that's going to do it for the video. This is one mod that I'm really happy that I got done. I hope it works out well for you. And until the next video, you take care of yourself. This is the Major, signing off.